Hello, my friends. It is Sunday, November 17th, 2024. My name is Gerdes. I'm just a professor trying to provide context in the war in Ukraine. So we have simultaneously top 10 highest casualty rates for the Russian soldiers on the battlefield and a huge combined drone and missile strike from Russia to Ukraine today. So when I talk about the highest number or the top 10, uh, we're number 9, top 10 days of Russian casualties with 1640. Number 10 would have been 1630, and that was only October 25th. So we're just in this place where it's just hot. It just keeps going. And you'll see that when you see Andrew Perpetua's list from just a couple days ago because he hasn't yet updated everything. 12 tanks off the battlefield, 27 armored fighting vehicles, 36 artillery systems, 85 vehicles and fuel tanks. Now, when we do look at Andrew Perpetua's list, here are the losses he could identify for the 12th. So he has now completed identifying the 12th and the 13th. Today is the 17th. He is behind. It's backlogged, but this is what the 12th looked like. It's maybe 3 plus, maybe a little bit larger than 3 to 1. And then this is the 13th. This is unbelievable. Not just in the numbers, but look at that Russian, and then finally Ukrainian. So look at just the sheer numbers, the scale of this thing are just, that's 2 pages. Okay, so here's the whole thing of it. Look at the amount of Russian to Ukrainian losses, maybe 4 or 5 to 1, something along those lines. It's just, and the number of them, it's unbelievable. Okay, so that's what's happening on the battlefield itself. We'll come back to that in just a little bit. Last night, there was a huge combined missile and drone attack on Ukraine. At a certain point, it was like 10 o'clock or so, maybe Greg Terry texted me and he said 10 Tu-95 planes and 2 ships in sea loaded with missiles en route to launch zones right now. Maybe just T or could be the big one. Okay, well, it turned out that he was right. It is a big one. Incredible work of Ukrainian air defenders. They shot down 102 missiles and 42 UAVs. That's significant. I've never seen a chart quite like this before. Okay, so here's Zelensky, a massive combined attack targeted all regions of Ukraine, approximately 120 missiles. And they said that they shot down how many of these? 102 out of 120 missiles. That's freaking awesome. I mean, considering that missiles do so much damage. Approximately 120 missiles and 90 drones were launched. Our air defenses destroyed over 140 aerial targets. The enemy target was our energy infrastructure across Ukraine, unfortunately. Now, why did they hit so many missiles and so few drones? If you have to get one or the other, get the missile. The drones are not going to do nearly the damage that the missile's going to do. So Russia answers Schultz and Trump's calls to de-escalate by launching one of the largest missile attacks of the war onto the people of Ukraine. Now that winter is approaching, Russia has started massive attacks on Ukrainian energy infrastructure again overnight with about 120 missiles and 90 drones. And this is just some billowing smoke cloud. That's what you're seeing here in the picture. One of the largest attacks of the Russian Federation. Now, where did it hit? Zaporizhia. Russia launched 3 strikes against infrastructure. Rivne, strike on energy infrastructure, water and electricity. Lviv region, garages caught on fire as a result of falling rocket debris. 1 person is known to have died and 2 injured. Dnipro, multi-story buildings, an educational institution. Car were damaged, 1 casualty. Kryvyi, there was a hit on energy infrastructure, housing, 2 schools were damaged. Prikapatia, a critical infrastructure facility was hit. Poltava, glazing of a 6 multi-story building. I mean, the hits just go on and on. And I just want you to understand that everywhere where these hits were happening, there are real people, real human beings whose lives have been turned upside down just because Putin is hungry to gobble up Ukraine. Okay, meanwhile, Poland deployed combat aircraft in response to Russian missile attacks. Don't worry, they didn't cross any line, they didn't shoot at anything, but they were up in the air. I don't know why. Like, I'm putting this up because I find it just so frustrating that they're even doing that when they're not going to do anything with it. So, what did Ukraine actually accomplish with their 8 F-16s? They shot down 10 aerial targets, according to the Kyiv Post, with their 8 F-16s. Now, imagine if they had 100. NATO has 4,000 of these old planes sitting around collecting dust. Imagine if they actually had the 100 that they were supposed to have in a night like last night. Now, Noel reports that Russian missile attacks on Ukraine could continue weekly with enough missiles in stocks for 5 or 8 more strikes of such size, let alone the other intermittent strikes where they launch 2 or 3 at a time. This is a fun story. Ukrainian soldier Natalia Garbachuk, who's a teacher in civilian life, shot down a missile this morning using man pads. So man pads are this shoulder-fired weapon, and here you see the smoke cloud going off in the distance after she shot. I'm going to show you a couple different angles of this with a little bit more context. On the morning of November 17th, soldier Natalia Garbachuk destroyed a cruise missile from man pads. It was her first combat launch, her first hit. Natalia took a 5-month training course at the training center and mastered various types of man-portable air defense systems. And here it is again. After she shot it, she was just kind of beside herself. And good on her. That's one less cruise missile causing this kind of grief. Imagine your country is exposed to this level of tea. You wouldn't negotiate with a tea from neighboring country, would you? You'd fight back. Freedom is not negotiable. Freedom is not free. And this is what Ukraine looked like last night. And this is a great question. Are media outlets in your country reporting on Russia's huge attack on Ukraine from last night? Put that in the comments below. If you see the media reporting it, I'd like to know and what country and where you saw it. And if they're not reporting it, put that in the comments too. That'll be quite telling. This is one of the largest attacks on Ukraine since the war began. Anton Gerashenko reminds us that over the past week, the aggressor has launched nearly 140 missiles of various types, more than 900 guided aerial bombs, and over 600 attack drones. That's what's going on regularly in Ukraine. And how much did this cost? I actually started doing the math. Just the Kinzhal 101 missiles were about 13 million each, and there was 101 of those. So the morning attacks in Ukraine cost Russia $1 billion for one night of attacks. So you'd have to ask yourself, what's motivating that? Why now? What are they trying to accomplish? Okay, switching gears to ISW, Russian forces recently advanced in the Kharkiv direction amid continued offensive operations in the area on November 16th. But then I saw this. Ukrainian drone operations continue to play a critical role in restraining Russian mechanized maneuver and preventing Russian forces from fully exploiting Ukraine's ongoing manpower constraints. Yep, that's what I was talking about yesterday with the drones. Ukrainian drones critical in halting Russian advances and inflicting heavy losses, Zelensky says. UAV operations slow Russian advances to a crawl, offsetting Ukraine's manpower and morale challenges. And drones have been the great equalizer. Now, as you know, Chancellor Scholz picked up the phone to call Putin, which Zelensky didn't want him to do, but he was doing it anyway, trying to be helpful. Here's how Russian state TV interprets Scholz's call with Putin. So the news anchor reported that, quote, perhaps having understood that Russia can't be defeated in Ukraine, for the first time in 2 years, Putin received a call on Friday from German Chancellor Olaf Scholz. Great. So there is propaganda value beyond the potential for others to do this. And Zelensky's right. It opened a Pandora's box. Okay, Darth Putin, the humorist, put this out. I can't defeat Ukraine on the battlefield, so my strategy is 1. Bomb hospitals, power stations, and dams to create refugees. 2. Fund anti-Western and anti-refugee parties in the West. 3. Humiliate Western leaders who want appeasement. 4. Repeat. Sounds like it's working. Imagine Ukraine has got all security guarantees from the US and Germany, and then this happens again. So that's not unreasonable that something like that might actually happen again. At that point, will the West carpet bomb Russia bases? No. Case of guarantees is closed. This whole idea that we can simply provide guarantees or assurances or whatever, we tried that before. All right, last little bit, I'm going to try to lighten the mood a little bit. I don't think you realize how close we came to a world-ending event. Now, if you pay attention to the jackknife trucks, you'll understand why. All right, my friends, that's all that I have. Thank you for your time. Thank you for the likes, the shares, the subscribes, and thank you for being the kind of person that cares about Ukraine.